Good morning everyone. Welcome back to the online classes of KV Academy. Myself Kisa sir is a science teacher. Today I am going to teach you class 5th science, class 5th subject science, lesson 14, and topic name is interdependence in nature. You know this topic is very important for you. Means interdependence in nature means we depend on nature directly or indirectly. Suppose plant animals depend on each other. Suppose when the plants make photosynthesis, they release oxygen gas, and oxygen gas required for us, and we in case we give them carbon dioxide gas for the making of process of photosynthesis. That's why photosynthesis means what? Photosynthesis means the green plant make their own food with the help of sunlight, water, minerals, etc. That process is known as photosynthesis. Means photo means light and synthesis means making food. Means without sunlight, plants cannot make their own foods. Today we will discuss about in this chapter how does interdependence in nature, how can the plants and animals are interdependent in each other. This program we highlight. First of all, living things depend on non-living things. Means we know we are living things, but we depend on air. Air is a non-living thing. Water also non-living thing. Land also non-living thing. But we depend on each other. Without depending on each other, we cannot able to survive, and we cannot make our process as a living things. So here air, water, soil and sunlight. These four elements we require for the living thing for dependence. Without air, without water, without soil and without sunlight, no living thing can survive. Suppose air. Air is a non-living thing, but we depend on air for survival. Without oxygen gas, we cannot able to survive. So that's why you need oxygen from the atmosphere, and this oxygen we get from the plants. So we are also animals. Many are social animals. We live on the society, but we need oxygen, and we get this oxygen from the plants. Or these plants give us oxygen which is in the form of air. Air is a mixture of gases, and this air is a non-living thing. Means living thing and non-living thing depend on each other. Without the interdependence, we cannot able to survive. This process is known as ecology. Second one is water. Water also non-living thing. Its formula is H2O. Two elements of hydrogen and oxygen combined to water. Without water, we cannot able to survive. This water is also necessary for the living things for making their own foods. Means plants and animals depend on each other. Means living thing depends on non-living thing also. That's why water is a non-living thing, but it depends on living thing because water is a lifeline of all living organisms. Without water, we cannot survive. Third one is soil. Soil also non-living things, but living thing require this soil. Soil is the uppermost layer of the atmosphere, and the decayed decompose of plants and animals is known as humus, and this humus give nutrients to the plants. That's why we planted paddy, beets, millets and other plants in the soils, and this soils give us plenty of cereals crop, and from this cereal crop we are able to eat chapati, breads, rice we get from the soil. Without soil, no plant can survive, no plant can grow. Without soil, non-living things and living things cannot afford to a suitable life. Fourth one is sunlight. You know sunlight. It is a ultimate source of energy. It is a renewable source of energy. The resources which can be used again and again is known as renewable source of energy. And this was sunlight. Without sunlight, plant cannot make their own food, because there is sunlight, plant make with the help of sunlight, plant make photosynthesis. Without photosynthesis, no plants store energy, starts food also. And these leaves are the kitchen of the plants. They make their own foods with the help of sunlight. Without sunlight, plants are not able to grow properly and not able to make photosynthesis in a proper way. That's why living things depend on non-living things. Air, water, soil and sunlight is a non-living thing, but living things have to survive. They will have to survive from air, water, soil and sunlight. Second one is plants and animals depend on each other. So how can plant and animals depend on each other? Now we got to highlight one by one. First one is animals depends on plants for food. Suppose animals, we are heterotrophs, and plant is a primary producer. This plant is a autotrophs because they make their own food with the help of sunlight, waters, minerals, and this process is known as photosynthesis. So plants and animals depend on each other. First one is plants, animals depend on plant for food. Means we are animals also. We have cow is animals. Animals depend on directly plant. For what? For food. Because without plant, animals cannot get food. That's why photosynthesis is necessary for the plants to make their own food. Plants grow in the soils in a proper nutrients, That's why when they grow up, all the animals eat the plants products. We also use plant products, lettuce, fenugreek, other substances from the plants. And without plants, no animal can able to survive. Second one is animals depends on plant for shelter. So most of the animals, is tigers, leopard, others, or deers, they live on the plant. Which plants are their shelter. Animals also plant, many organisms, many animals live on a natural phenomena in a forest area. There's a many plantations, large growth of plantations are there, and these plantations, all the plants, all the animals were their livelihood is what? Plant is their livelihood. There is shelter of the animals. So without plants, there is no shelter for the animals. If you suppose you cut down all the plants, all the forests you cut down, all the animals come to our surrounding area and disturb our natural element. That's why we have to need plant more and more trees in the environment. Don't have to cut the trees. Third, animals depends on plant for oxygen. Suppose we are animals, plants are animals, they depend on plants for oxygen, because without oxygen, no animals can survive. So during the photosynthesis, oxygen gas is released through the stomata, from the leaves, from the stomata, and in the case they got the oxygen. This stomata is present in the underside of the leaves. Under the leaves, animals get all the oxygen from the plants. Fourth, plant use carbon dioxide produced by animals. The plant use carbon dioxide for which means plant use carbon dioxide. Without plants, animals cannot survive. They are interdependent to each other. That's why plant needs carbon dioxide to make their own food, and this carbon dioxide the plants get from the animals. And in between this, they release oxygen gas. So we need oxygen gas for the survivals. But the animals, for the plants, need carbon dioxide gas to make their own foods, because for the complete process of photosynthesis. Fifth one is plants depends on animals for reproductions. Suppose how can they use the reproduction? Because during the pollinations, in the plants there is two types. One is stamen and plastis. Means both male and female also found in the plants. And during the pollinations, the pollen can transform from one flower to another flower is known as pollination. Means the butterflies, honey, they when they sit on the pollen grains in between their legs, all the pollens were stick together and they go to from female to male part of the flower, and this process they go to is known as asexual reproductions also, and this is also a reproduction also. In plants, in animals also there is a bisexual program, which male and female required to produce new ones, but in plants, you see herbaceous plants, they do pollination and they get new kinds, new ones. Living things make the soil fertile. How the living thing is? Suppose you see the earthworm. You see the earthworm, when they are present in the soil, they are the friends of the farmer. When the earthworm died, they decompose on the plants. They decompose on the soil and make the soil fertility also. And it makes the soil fertile. That's why the many farmers use red worms in their fields, so that to make the soil fertilities. Now next point is food chain. Food chain, when suppose there is a grass, and this grass are eaten by deer, and deer are eaten by lion. This process is known as food chain. The sequence of living thing means one organism consume another organism to balance in the nature. This process is known as food. Suppose there is a grass are eaten by deer, and deer are eaten by lion, and lion are eaten by hawks. HAWK, when they die, the hawks or scavengers, means one organism consume another, means the food chains transfer of foods from one juice to another juice. This process is known as food chains. Means this chapter 5 is totally dependent on how interdependence and nature. So how can we interdependent in nature? We should highlight it. I think all of you understood. And if any problem, you can ask me. Thank you. Have a nice day.